Hello, children, how are you? So, when you hear the word disciple, what do you think about, right? People who follow Jesus, yes, there were 12 people back in Jesus' time who were devoted followers, right? So, are we disciples? So, whether you know it or not, we are all disciples. We all follow something, and generally, what we follow defines what kind of a person we are. Now, if I were to ask you to take your phone or your laptop or whatever and open your Facebook or your Instagram or YouTube and see who you were following, I'm sure it will give us a good idea of us as a person, what we like, what we don't like, right? So, who is a disciple? So, if you look at the dictionary, it says that disciple is a follower, a student of a mentor or teacher or any other figure. So, whether we like it or not, we are all learning from somebody or something. So, what is discipleship? So, if you are playing a sport or if you have ever played a sport like cricket or netball, discipleship would be the practices that you go, the exercises, sometimes you're given a special diet to follow, and also how you can make your technique better, right? So you will be eating, sleeping, drinking, and living that particular sport. You talk about it, you watch about it, you read articles about it. That's what it means to be a disciple of that particular sport. If you are a disciple of music, then it looks like you're learning the theory of music, the notes, the rhythms, how to read music, what are chords. Then you keep practicing your instrument. Sometimes your fingers may hurt, they may bleed, your voice goes, but you still continue, right? That's what it means to be a disciple. So, what does it mean to be a disciple of Jesus, right? To help us look at that question, we look at our Bible reading today, which is taken from the Gospel according to Mark. We're going to read chapter 8 and verse 34. So, Mark chapter 8 and verse 34, and it says, "Then he called the crowd to him along with his disciples and said, 'Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me.'" So, here this passage gives us three clues of what it means to be a disciple of Jesus. The first one he says is, whoever needs to be my disciple needs to deny themselves, which means we need to surrender. That means we have to put Jesus first in our lives and everything else below that. We need to let go of our pride. Whatever we think may not matter, we have to think about what Jesus would want us to think, right? Because we need to give him the first place. So that's surrender, which is the first one. The second thing the passage says is, it says, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves. Secondly, it says, take up their cross. That means there is some sacrifice involved. If we are following Jesus, there's going to be a cost. Now it's very easy for us to follow somebody on Instagram, somebody we like, right? All we need to do is click that follow button. But following Christ means that it is going to take a little more out of us. It's not going to be easy. There will be times when we'll have to go through suffering, through loneliness. We may be insulted, we may get betrayed, we may have mental stress. But that is what Jesus is asking us. If we are to be his disciples, that is the sacrifice that is needed. We may have to give of our time, we may have to give of our talents, our physical strength, our mental state. We need to be willing to give all of that up and be used by Jesus for his kingdom work. So that's the sacrifice. So right, now we learned that if you want to be a disciple, you must deny yourself, which means you need to surrender. 2, you need to take up your cross, which means you need to sacrifice. The third thing it says is that you need to follow him, which means your service. Because when we decide to follow Jesus, it's not a one-off thing. It's not a promise that you make in church one day and then go only when you feel like, right? It's something that we need to do every single day. So when we make a choice to follow Jesus, we are surrendering our nature to live for Jesus. We are sacrificing our ways of life and our plans for those that God has for us. And we are following Jesus in an example of service and love, right? And that is the example that we need to show to those around us, right? So now, why do we follow Jesus? Do we follow Jesus because we are inspired or we are entertained? Or is it something that we can quickly do and say, yes, I follow, I like it, I will share it. Or no, are we going to follow Jesus in the radical surrender, sacrifice, and service? Right? Or as the song says, follow Jesus because there is no turning back. So once you decide, you can't really go back on that, because following Jesus is much more than just a click of a button, right? And you can't unfollow just because it gets tough. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and his disciples followed him because they knew that he had the words of life, and there's nothing else that was worth following, right? And they were willing to face difficulties, they were willing to face even death for following Jesus, because they knew that he was the only way out. So when we truly follow Jesus, we need to commit ourselves to him. It's not a half-hearted thing. It's not just some kind of hashtag to search as we please. It is a decision that we need to make, that we need to forget our old lives and start a new life, which will go on till eternity. Right? So as we are in this season of Lent, let's think about what it means for us as Christians and as followers of Jesus, whether we truly follow him, surrendering, sacrificing, and bringing ourselves in service to him, right? And as our prayer today, I'm going to play a special song, right? It's called The Summons, and it has 13 questions asked by Jesus when he calls us to follow him, right? So listen to the song, and as you listen to the song, make it your prayer that we will be able to answer him when he asks us these questions.
Will you come and follow me if I but call your name? Will you go where you don't know and never be the same? Will you let my love be shown? Will you let my name be known? Will you let my life be grown in you and you in me? Will you leave yourself behind if I but call your name? Will you care for cruel and kind and never be the same? Will you risk the hostile stare? Should your life attract or scare? Will you let me answer prayer in you and you in me? Will you let the blinded see if I but call your name? Will you set the prisoners free and never be the same? Will you kiss the leper clean and do such as this unseen, and admit to what I mean in you and you in me? Will you love the you hide if I but call your name? Will you quell the fear inside and never be the same? Will you use the faith you found to reshape the world around through my sight and touch and sound in you and you in me? Lord, your summons echoes true when you but call my name. Let me turn
Hope you all enjoyed the song, and I hope it had some meaning. So, as we go through this season of Lent, let's think about how we follow Jesus. God bless you, and I will see you next time.